Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, Doctor had me fired, my company imploded. How Wi-Fi turns into mashed potatoes. Now she knows what it's like. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Doctor had me fired, my company imploded. Back in the dark ages, around 1993, I worked for a medical transcription firm as their sysadmin. We were doing some cutting-edge IT stuff, and getting transcriptions printed at the hospitals remotely, using print queues with the modem number hard-coded in, and the system would look for queues with anything in them and dial the number if it found something in that queue. It worked really well, until it didn't. I was the only sysadmin in this city, so I was on call 24/7/365, and was averaging 3 hours of sleep per night, when I could go home and trying to catch little catnaps here and there when I could. Anytime something would go wrong on the hospital side, I would have to go to the hospital and fix it. A few months after I started, the two of the VPs from Corp relocated to my city, since we were the most productive city with the highest profits. The first thing they did was come up with an excuse to fire the current director. Then they took over operations themselves. Then my job went from taking care of our systems to taking care of the doctor's computers too. I did what I could, but I was also sending out resumes. Then I was told to go to a hospital and see why the printing stopped. I remember this day. I hadn't been home for 2 days and had been going non-stop for 18 hours. I get there, someone had unplugged the modem. I plug it back in. Call comes in and jobs start printing. This doctor walks over and tells me that VP number 1 told him that I would go out to his house and work on his home computer. I politely explain to the doctor that I can't do that, and that I'm heading home to get some sleep. Then I head back to the office to pick up a few things before heading home. As soon as I walk through the door, I get escorted straight to the VP's office. Both VP number 1, VP number 2, and the office manager are there. They proceed to start chewing me out. I just started laughing at them. I'm the only person in a 1,000 miles that knows anything about this system. They lose their temper and tell me I'm fired and am to leave immediately. I really said thank you. Then left. This was December 15th, my oldest son's birthday. On the way home, I stop a mom and pop computer store, where I know some of the people, to drop off a resume. They tell me that they have no openings right now, but will call me when they do. I talk to a couple friends while I'm there, then head on home. The only thing I'm worried about is telling my GF that I got fired. I walk through the door, she's at work. I see the answering machine blinking, so I hit play. Mom and pop computer store, our primary Novell engineer just quit, are you still available? I call them back and let them know I'll be there tomorrow. That began a much more peaceful career, with better pay, rotating on-call, and most every weekend and holiday off. By the way, the medical transcription firm imploded. The VPs were fired. They floundered for about a year, and were bought up by a competing firm. Thinking back on it, I wouldn't be surprised if the doctor was the one that unplugged the modem as an excuse to get me out there. What would be even sweeter, the VP told him to do it. Honestly, I was expecting you to leave, him to do it again. Then they fire you 'cause you didn't fix it. I used to work for a firm in northern England that supplied warehousing software all over the UK. I took a call where the freight depot PC couldn't see the freight system, and it was like the most critical machine in the building. 6 HRS drive each way, to find that the stupid MD of the freight company had removed the Ethernet cable to use on a different machine. About what I would expect. Everything you described about these VPs sounds super toxic. Take your only sysadmin and work them to death. Then tack on customer support. Now you want them to make house calls too. What manager would ever send an employee to a business customer's home to work on their personal computer? So much potential liability there. When I read the title, I thought this had something to do with the recent legal advice post. I actually saw that one. That was what stirred this memory. I hadn't thought about it in decades. Doctors can be very unique to work with. In my experience, they are either great and fun to work with or should burn in the pits of hell. The most shocking part of this to someone who entered the workforce in 2013 is that you were able to get a job after physically walking into a place. Everything else is, sadly, really relatable. I'm glad you moved on successfully. That sounds like a nightmare. Did they ever call to try to get you back? Nope, and they couldn't have offered me enough. Since they fired me without asking me any questions about anything, I wasn't obligated to assist them in any way. Plus, their egos were far too big to call a lowly sysadmin they fired. I did have a few friends/transcriptionists there and I stayed in touch with. They mostly left for the competitor company within a few weeks of my termination. They said the mountain started falling that day. No one knew how to do anything, and the only other people that knew anything were other overworked sysadmins from other offices over 1,000 miles away. Oh, and the director they fired before me. He and I stayed in touch. He went to work for a smaller transcription firm, and I actually pulled his firm into the mom and pop shop I was working for. They hired us for their IT support. I'm glad that it worked well for you. I've had horrible experiences supporting doctors' offices. They all want tech to make their lives easier, but none of them want to prioritize IT as a budgeted, serious asset. Been there, done that. It's not just doctors on that boat. They base their entire operation about IT and want to pay and treat IT like crap. Times are a-changin'. Wait. I'm the oldest son and that's my birthday. Dad? Son. Mine's on the 14th. It's possible that I am his son and his lack of sleep made him a day off. LOL, imagine firing your Novell print services expert in 1993. I worked as a developer for Novell in the early 2000s and would staff our team's demo booth at BrainShare every year. You'd see guys waking around with lanyards and badges festooned with ribbons showing all their netware certifications. Most of them had worked at the same place for 20 plus years, because the company would likely explode if they didn't train 5 people to do their jobs before leaving. Netware printing was a beautiful thing. I wish Windows had the same abilities now that Novell had back then. Beautiful. Perfect even. How Wi-Fi turns into mashed potatoes. I'm a digital nomad, and I moved into a Airbnb, a garden apartment attached to a house, albeit for a month on Sunday. The Wi-Fi was crappy, low speeds, drops often. Now this isn't abnormal, especially when I'm staying outside the country, but I'm in Florida. This is especially confusing because there is a Google Nest Wi-Fi access point 2 feet from my laptop. I messaged the hosts about it, and they have no idea what to do, although they are very kind and know they need to fix it. In these situations, I can either pretend I don't know anything about tech and hope it gets fixed eventually, or try to be helpful. I go back and forth each time. But these hosts were rather nice, let me arrive a day early, and didn't charge me for it. Plus, I'm here a month, and would like good Wi-Fi, so I offer to help. I used to do IT support, but that was a decade ago. It's amazing how things never really change. They had a Nest mesh router connected to the cable modem/router, and 2 other mesh access points elsewhere in the house, which their son had set up. As far as everyone in the family was concerned, it was plugged in, and there was a blue light, so it's working. Thus they were just confused why Wi-Fi *KED on both ends of the house. The host had even ordered a separate internet service for the guest quarters on the opposite side of the house from me, as service was almost non-existent there. When I saw the access point right by me, and saw my crappy signal, my assumption was that particular access point had just never been set up. It turns out that all the son had done was plugged things in physically, and never actually set up the network. We were all using the default cable modem/router network. So, I set up the mesh network, advised them on placement, and that they order an additional access point, then set that up. Speeds went from 10 to 150 megabits per second at the edges of the house, and the network now covers the entire house and yard. The separate internet got cancelled, saving $60 per month. I then got invited to Thanksgiving dinner and to go dragon boating. Very sadly, I had other Thanksgiving plans, so I was not able to be tech support for the entire extended family yesterday. Although I still had to fix my mom's printer, ironically by rebooting their router. You are a hero. Maybe I'll get a cape for Christmas. What's dragon boating? It sounds amazing. Apparently it's like competitive rowing, but they make the boats look like friggin' dragons. And spot on username. This is the second story I've seen about not configuring mesh points. They should have a red light when not configured. Right. A pleasant blue light does not indicate an error state to me. Blue light, okay, I'm ready. User, great. That was easy. Back to browsing internet memes. Blue light, to be set up. User. Wait. Was this you? Seeing as how she tagged this guy's username in a comment, yes. I was gonna say, I feel like I just heard this story. As someone who recently set up a Google Mesh, they were on sale at Costco. My only question is, does no one read instructions anymore? Anytime I have my 6-year-old helping me, the first thing I always tell her is that we're going to sit down and read the instructions, then she can start putting wrench to bolt. It was remarkably easy to set up. But no, I honestly don't think many people ever read directions. Good on you for teaching her to RTFM from the very start. Wait, did your girlfriend post pictures of your texts? I saw this same thing 2 days ago. Seeing as how she tagged this guy's username in a comment, yes. Meshed potatoes. I wish I had made that pun. Take my upvote. Will work for good, scratch made turkey gravy. Ironically, I'm vegetarian. I dunno what dragon boating is. But I'm got a +1? I'm awkward with new people but warm up and am funny, like, worked in a kitchen for 20 years humor funny. DM me bro lol. You use 3 Google Nests in a house? I am using 3 of them just in an apartment due to the walls. Still awfully nice of you to help out your host. Now she knows what it's like. I work on an IT service desk and my partner works in a food shop. She was off yesterday and kept getting called by her manager. She answered on the 3rd time and her manager asked, how do I use this CCTV? Bearing in mind this is a system that she could use multiple times a day, and she's worked in that shop for a good few years now, so she should know exactly how to use it. She asked how to log on to it and my partner talked her through it multiple times. Turns out she was trying to log in as an admin instead of a user. Once she eventually got to the user login, she couldn't remember the password, even though it is and always has been the name of the shop ID number, and a full stop. My partner reminded her of this, and still after multiple tries she couldn't get logged in, and saying the password wasn't working. She eventually got on after about 10 minutes and hung up my partner. She came and told me, and I just laughed and said yep. Welcome to my life every call. Tell your wife to put in that time and get paid for it. Even if it's just 10 minutes or whatever. Incentive need to exist to change the behavior. Ha ha ha, good joke. Asterisk paid. But can she fix the printer? To be honest, can we fix the printer? Smart IT departments outsource the printers. Ah yes, the unofficial go-to IT guru. All the responsibilities and expectations without the extra pay. What extra pay? IT staff are generally overworked and underpaid. Especially service desk staff. Be tech savvy and only call tech support as absolute last resort. Wait on hold for an hour. Spend another half hour going through their script, which includes solutions that can't possibly work, as well as solutions you've already tried. Cannot move on until you try them again for tech support. L1 support has reached end of script. Transfer to L2 for real support, on hold for another 45 minutes. L2 asks for logs, solves problem in 3 minutes. Hang up before being dragged into a 10-minute post-support survey. Might want to log the call and make notes. I'd be suspicious of someone wanting access to the CCTV admin. I'm betting some video disappeared. My partner isn't in any way IT, so no logging the call, and the manager wasn't up to anything like that. She is just absolutely useless at everything. Haha, she logged in as user, and not admin, as no one in the store knows that log, and so nothing dodgy, just inept. Never pick up your work phone when you're not on the clock. If your work requires you to be accessible via cell phone, they need to provide one. Don't fall into the trap of taking an allowance or porting your personal number to their corporate account. If they only allow a stipend, if you don't want to add a separate line, there's forwarding options that you can set rules around so you don't get calls after hours / on weekends / etc. I can't tell you how much switching to a separate device for work has done for my mental health. I don't even have work email on my personal phone, and it's amazing. I feel her in your pain. I'm a freelance SEO, and I have SEO OCD. Everything has to be in order. Oh, the amount of times I see clients with one Gmail address, then a different profile for YouTube, a third for Google Analytics, then their son has control of their Google business profile. Then an ex-digital agency with the ads account access. Search Console? What's that? Welcome to every day of my week. A friend of mine has been working in an admin position at a hospital. They recently installed a new printer near her desk. They put up a sign, explaining that you had to sign into the printer to release your work. She now spends hours every day, reading the sign to people. I told her, welcome to my world. Then they sent her with the training team to help teach another hospital how to use their new EMR system. She's absolutely local IT now. Someone gave her an ID card on a lanyard and everything. What a way to work yourself into IT. Haha, good for her. That's the trick though, isn't it? Do the simplest thing so often that when you show the next person who comes along they think it's wizardry. She should know exactly how to use it. Too many pronouns. As a progressive, please shut the F***ck up. There's only one in that sentence though? If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.